in this country is not grouse or not fish or not the smelts. It's the farmer and the rancher and the driller. It's the coal miner. It's the trucker and the logger. You know, energy independence is doable. John Salazar said in one of his first press releases after he was sworn in 2005, "I will lead America to energy independence by developing the resources of Western Colorado." Since then, he's voted against onshore drilling, offshore drilling, ANWR drilling, Roan Plateau exploration, even refineries. Now, we can do better than that. But let's eliminate the Endangered Species Act. Let's start with that. Let's recognize that getting people back to work is the most important thing we can do right now, not protecting smelts. We can do this. We can do it responsibly. You know, I've made my bones, to use an old expression, in the environmental community. I am a responsible use environmentalist. And I know that the technologies exist out there to allow us to explore, to drill, to mine coal, and we can do it in a way that still brings people back from all over the world to see the beauty of Colorado, because we're just as proud of that. And we won't lose that. But we need to remember the technology is there. We need to make sure that the technology is used. But, you know, getting back to cap and trade, I was in 20 Mile coal mine about a month ago, and they are already suffering from cap and trade because municipalities are not buying 10-year contracts right now. They're spot buying coal. So instead of developing new seams, they're laying off guys that would have developed those seams. Let's get to energy independence. We can do it. We must do it. It's important for our national security and our economic security. Drill, baby, drill.
Thank you, Bob. Scott?
You know, when we're talking about energy independence, we can go back actually to Jimmy Carter. He started the Department of Energy, and that was to move us to energy self-sufficiency. Well, how well has that worked? Hasn't worked at all, has it? Well, it's because in this country, we have not built a brand new refinery now for over 30 years. We have not allowed offshore drilling to be able to take place. And I just want to remind you, this is something that I'm going to support. We need to have the all of the above measure. Should we pursue wind energy, solar energy, geothermal energy? We should. It makes common sense. We know we've got a depletable resource that is out there, but we still want the lights to come on. We want our homes to be able to be heated, and fossil fuels are the answer to that. We have the technology not only to be able to drill. I've gone out and toured the Williams rigs that are out here. Incredibly responsible industry that is out there right now. They know that they cannot afford to pay the political, economic, or environmental costs to not do it right, and they are doing it right, and we need to be able to recognize that. In fact, Secretary Salazar and his brother John both need to recognize that when it comes to being able to create jobs here on the West Slope of Colorado. In the Colorado State Legislature, I voted and I fought against those regulations which drove jobs out of the state of Colorado, and we can take that message to Washington as well. But let's drill along our coastal areas. You may have heard on the news just, I think it was about a week ago, now, where you have Iran now threatening Europe, saying you'll have a cold winter as they're trying to develop nuclear weapons. If we do not understand this, the country that cannot feed itself or the country that cannot supply its own energy is incredibly vulnerable. Let's empower, and we are in concert. Drill, baby, drill. Now.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, Scott. What measures should Congress take to help revitalize the nation's economy and stimulate economic growth?
Well, first of all, we need to recognize that they made a big mistake in regards of the stimulus package. I don't think a person in this room thought that we'd now be the proud owners of GM, that we would own banks and mortgage companies. The private sector works, and that's what we need to be incentivizing. Right now, I think it's something like, I keep hearing floating numbers, but about 20-25% of the stimulus package has been spent. Well, maybe we ought to do this. Rather than pumping it into more government programs, why don't we have a tax holiday for businesses and for individuals as well, to get money back in the pockets of businesses to be able to create jobs, and for Americans to be able to pay those mortgages and those car bills as well. Let's make sure that we aren't having an oppressive tax code. We talked about that just a moment ago, that is so convoluted nobody can understand this. I propose that we reduce also the corporate tax rates down to a flat 10%. This is going to repatriate dollars back into the United States that have flown overseas in terms of jobs. Then we know exactly what we're dealing with. The corporate tax structure and the burdens of that are actually job killers. So let's go and cut those taxes. Now is not the time to be raising taxes in the United States. It's actually time for us to be cutting taxes, because there is not a person in Washington, D.C. or in Denver, Colorado that can come in here and tell you that every dime that you send, every hard-earned dime that you send to government is well spent. Let's cut taxes for Americans. Let's stimulate this economy. We have a track record. I'm a Reagan conservative. We've proved it once, and we've proved it again and again. When you empower the American people with more of their dollars, you create jobs, you stimulate the economy, and you get this country moving again.
Thank you, Scott. Bob?
Well, I think this comes down to four things: borders, banks, taxes, and regulations. And I've already told you how I feel about the borders. That's not only a security issue, it's an economic issue as well. The next thing is banks. You know, I've been a small business owner, and I know how important operational funds are. Right now, the Obama administration is doing everything it can to disincentivize banks from loaning money. So let's look at some of the things they've done. I've got a friend who owns a small bank over in La Junta. His FDIC premium, which in 2008 was $8,000, in 2009 went to $130,000. This year it will go to $300,000. Now, why has that happened? It's because FDIC is teetering on bankruptcy. So now they not only want him to pay premiums of that magnitude, but they want 3-year premiums up front. So this year he'll have to come up with $900,000. Now, that's unsustainable in a small bank, and that eliminates the gap between your assets and your liabilities. The next thing we need to do is recognize that this Obama plan to put a surtax on the banks is a debacle. The tax is going to be on liabilities. Now, if I'm a banker, what is a liability? It's a loan. If I'm a banker and I'm deciding that I want to pay more of the surtax or less of the surtax, am I going to loan money or not loan money? That's a critically important thing we can do right there. I've already talked about the borders. I've talked about regulations. Let's talk about taxes. We have the second highest corporate income tax in the world right now. We need to put on parity with the people we're competing with. The next thing we need to do is recognize there are only 2 countries in the world right now increasing income taxes: the United States and Great Britain. Let's eliminate that. No new taxes. Not now, not ever, period.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, Bob, last question of our questions, and then we'll move on to the audience questions. What is your strategy to build sufficient financial resources and name recognition required to beat the incumbent, John Salazar?
What is my strategy to build what?
Your strategy to build the sufficient financial resources and name recognition that you will need to beat John Salazar.
Wow, name recognition. Well, I'm a total unknown. So what I've done is it'll be 6 months, I think, here next week, I put almost 25,000 miles on my car getting around and meeting people. And when I meet people, like I was at the Pitkin County Republican Lincoln Day dinner, I don't just talk to Republicans. I talk to the people who serve at those tables because they're voters. I talk to everybody I can meet and that'll listen to what I have to say. I talk to people because I want them to trust me, to recognize me. I'm a total unknown. I take that responsibility on. I've not ever been involved in politics before. I wouldn't be involved in politics right now if I wasn't angry. But I'm getting out there and I'm talking to people. I take advantage of every opportunity to get free advertising, to be free on TV, free radio, because I pledge to you I will not spend that money until I am in the fight with John Salazar. That'll be after the primary. How else am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to depend on the fact that this is an election that will not be won with dollars. You know, I'll never outraise Salazar. No Republican will. Well, maybe.
Well, I hope so.
But Salazar will outraise us 2-1. That's what he's done before. We won't win on money. We'll win on ideas. Ideas is what will capture this election. Money doesn't vote,